Hello and welcome. They say if you're not part of the solution, then you are perhaps becoming part of the problem. You all know that India faces many challenges, but we are ready actually with many solutions. Many of them are really innovative solutions. Recently, Prime Minister Narendra Modi promised to do everything possible to make India an innovation hub. This means making innovation easier in keeping with the fast-changing world that we see around us. So can India innovate for itself and also for the rest of the world? Can technology-driven innovations help in making Digital India, Make in India, and other such flagship programs a reality? Now, we have with us today a vibrant mix of people here, industry leaders, technology experts, innovators, policymakers, all gathered right here. And we also have many members of Indian youth who all of them want to make a lot of changes. Many of them are making a change in their own lives. And we're going to get views from everybody, perhaps with a view to try and find some of the actual solutions that we need. So, Mr. R.S. Sharma, Chairman TRAI, it's such a privilege, sir, to have you here with us.
Thank you very much.
Because it is probably on your shoulders that a lot of innovation is going to be coming from. You'll be firing the bullets that will lead to innovation in the country. So it's a real privilege to have you here with us. Tibjani Ghosh is Vice President, Sales and Marketing Group, also Managing Director of Intel South Asia. So great to have you with us. Kavan Bharti Mittal is the founder and CEO of Hike Messenger. Thanks a lot, Kavan, for being with us. Naina Lal Kidwai, Chairman India and Director HSBC Asia Pacific. Thanks, Naina. It's always a privilege to have you with us. Now somebody who actually doesn't need too much introduction. So should I just put up his face and leave it like that and move on? No, actually. Anil Kapoor, of course, we all know him. He's one of the people who's made a mark, not just in India, but one of the first people who really made a breakthrough globally in the world of entertainment. So you've really helped India innovate in soft power in more ways than one. So it's really a pleasure, Anil, as always, to have you here with us. Sangeeta Reddy is the Joint Managing Director at Apollo Hospital Enterprise Limited. Thanks a lot for being with us. Special guests who are here with us, who all have very strong views on specific areas. Thank you all for being with us. And of course, an audience right here in Delhi and in Mumbai who are all going to be joining us. All right, talking about innovations. Pick up this pad you've got with you. And I'm going to throw you a question, and you can press A for yes and B for no. So the question that I'm throwing to all of you, is the climate right to innovate in India? Press A for yes, B for no, and then hit the OK key. There you are, 85% said yes, 15% said no. I'm actually going to come to some of that 15%. Obviously, it's a thrust area of the government. Why do you feel the climate is right for innovations?
The Digital India program, which is announced by the Prime Minister, it basically seeks to convert India into a digitally empowered society and a knowledge economy. And all three vision areas of Digital India, whether it is digital infrastructure, whether it is software and services, or whether it is digital empowerment, all three actually there is a huge scope for innovation in each one of them. That's number one. Number two, what has happened is that Bangalore has, sort of emerged as one of the innovation hubs of the country. And a lot of these programs which are built are sort of being done in Bangalore and other places also. Lastly, India has done something very innovative. And I think I'll stick my neck out, Aadhaar. Aadhaar as an identity platform actually is a platform for a number of innovations. And one really does not understand and apprehend, sort of comprehend the kind of platform which India can build on this innovative sort of platform. So I think overall, and there are a lot of programs of the government. For example, we have the Electronics Development Fund. We have a lot of innovative, angels, investors, startups coming. NASSCOM is doing a lot
fund at 10,000 crore rupees.
Absolutely, 10,000 crores. And NASSCOM is doing a lot of work of 10,000 startups. So overall, there is a climate in this country today which is actually fostering innovation and which rewards innovations. And I think India is on a very tipping point where I think we can take off.
Okay, let me get some other very quick views on that. Climate, right? And actually, it's important. I think we should also state why this is so crucial. Because in today's economy, in the 21st century, the countries that are the innovation hubs of the world will probably capture mind space, market cap, economy will grow, they'll thrive. India's been a service economy, which has been great. We're trying to become a manufacturing economy, but if we can become the innovative economy, that's what gives the United States its edge and other countries as well.
Yep.
Is the climate right?
Climate is absolutely right. I mean, there are a few things that are happening. One is innovation thrives when you have a large problem to solve. We have a huge problem to solve in India, and that's inclusive growth. And without that, development is not going to happen. We also know that technology will play a key role in solving that problem. You cannot build brick and mortar schools, hospitals, banks in every single village. Second, you have a government that finally gets technology. Third, you have more and more people coming onto the internet. So all the sort of forces are coming together, and this is the right climate for innovation to take place in India, because without it, I don't see us realizing the development agenda.
I want to add to that. I think there are three aspects: the market, people willing to take sort of risks in this market, and the capital coming in. Today we have all three of those. Even though we have, I would say, 20% of the market of mobile on the internet, it's still 200 million plus. Yeah. It's massive. So there's a very large market to play in. And you can see that funding and capital has come through as well to fund people who want to take risks as well. I think that's the combination that's driving innovation in this country right now.
When I saw a yes-no, I did vote yes. But is it a firm yes? Possibly not, because we still have to create a superstructure for venture capital, angel capital, funding from banks, tax convenience, infrastructure which enables young minds to innovate for the inclusive growth that Debjani alluded to. And I do believe that we have a ways to go there. So we need to welcome this innovation. We need to ease the way for young minds that are thinking of new ways of solving old problems.
I think that's a point well taken. Anil, you've innovated in so many areas.
You see, I feel, in a way, I can talk about it as an actor, as a talent, as a film producer. Innovation, you see, to be honest with you, it'll help remove the middlemen. That's the most important thing, what innovation is doing. Because you see, the middlemen can really delay things. But with innovation, removing the entire middleman in every department will, I think, which is the best thing what innovation and technology is doing all over the world. And that's what should happen in India. In India, it's very, very necessary.
All right. Healthcare, another big problem to solve. And are we seeing innovation there now?
I think we're seeing tremendous innovation across the scope of healthcare, which is how do we deliver high quality care at 1/10 of global prices, which is happening. But the biggest problem is healthcare is just the inequity, the lack of access. And that's where we need to spend more time. Technology is definitely helping it, whether it's telemedicine and so many other things in that scope. The need to research and bring in data so we have new Indian solutions, make in India, for India type thing. But I think one of the biggest things which is pushing innovation really is the sentiment of the people. People are beginning to say, I want more, I want it quicker, whether it's driven by the youth or ICT or teledensity. Yeah. The sentiment of the people are saying, give us something, we cannot remain in status quo. And that's driving innovation, and that's driving adoption of innovative solutions. You can't dream in a bubble. You have to let that land on fertile soil, and that's what we're seeing in healthcare. So it's tremendous growth.
Anybody with a view?
When you talk about innovation, it's really about doing something different, and that would mean risk-taking. Today, among the youth, I think this fear of failure is much less. So there are people who are coming up, they're saying we're going to take a chance, ecosystem is developing. So I think besides what the government is doing, etc., I think there is a big change happening in society where you're saying, let me try my hand at it.
Ritesh, let me just get you in on this. Is the climate okay now?
Of course. I would actually think that this is possibly the best climate for us to execute and build great companies. Honestly, because one of the things that was going in my mind was while big problems are extremely important for innovative economies, one of the other things that's also important is being able to find a solution and make sure that users adopt to it. After US and China, the world's largest population, which is on smartphone or internet, is this country, which means we possibly have the biggest opportunity after possibly the world's two largest economies to be able to go out and solve the problem. And I think, which is why when we started doing what we did, we never thought that the adoption would be so high. But because the problem was so acute, even with a little bit of change, consumers said, guys, we're waiting for this for decades now, and this is a great solution.
And it's possible then to scale up fast. All right, let me come back to another question. Why is it that Indians, to generate the big idea, have sometimes had to go abroad? Are we ripe now for a big idea to come out of India, which will be not just a Make in India product, but a Make in India idea as such. Will the next big idea for the world emerge from India? A for yes, B for no. 75% say yes, but 25% say no. So that's more than what the number was when it came to judging the climate. All right, let me just come to any member of the audience who might want to say why they voted yes or no.
As an entrepreneur, I feel that sometimes there's lack of guidance as well. So when we take the case of developed economies, where we have already seen digital growth, there are people to mentor you.
Mumbai, anybody wants to tell us why you voted yes or no?
I voted no on this. I think a lot of new products and new ideas really need to be supported, need to be given that amount of funding, and as someone mentioned, mentorship and guidance, so that they're really able to take off on a global level.
Alok, you had a view on that?
Yeah,
Mentorship, guidance, not the right
I also
approach.
voted no on the next innovative idea, big idea. I think the reason is that we are very early in the whole business of new innovative ideas. And it will take a little time before the cobwebs clear, the ease of doing business improves. Because right now, as this young man said, the problems are too many. And by the time someone goes through the red tape and things, even now, it's takes out too much effort from a startup company.
Right. It's a very interesting point that is being made, that the next big idea will come from India because we need innovative big ideas in the field of how are you changing people's lives and doing it in a cost-effective manner.
Yeah.
And that sort of an experiment is really what India needs. Though that's the big problem that India needs to answer.
Absolutely. You know, while I absolutely agree with the challenges that have been raised, they're very real. The next big idea in India has to come from India, because the next big generation of users in India are going to come from non-urban India or rural India. And if you define big by scale or some idea that's game-changing, I think it will be about opening up rural India or taking technology to rural India. I mean, no disrespect, I work in an MNC, but a company sitting in US is not going to be able to solve that problem.
Okay.
But we have to figure out how to address these challenges.
Ella? I'm trying to figure out where the next big idea will come from, but I think possibilities are that it could be in healthcare or in banking. Is that the area where you think the next big idea is going to come from?
But you know, we are years behind other countries in these technologies. So I was one of those who went for no, because I think a lot of the innovation we are seeing is process innovation. It is borrowing ideas that have worked abroad and then trying to retrofit it to an environment in India where the regulatory frameworks are so difficult that you're trying to work around them. So we need to improve the entire eco-structure in which even the best ideas abroad can first come here. And to give you an example, I mean, just getting the whole e-commerce structure in India straight, it's going to generate 1,000 blossoms, because suddenly the framework for offering product, even if you're a small entrepreneur at home, means you don't have to wrestle with opening a shop and dealing with inspectors and getting clearances. You can offer your product no matter how small on the internet. These are the fabulous borrowings from abroad. I mean, it's a copy of what Alibaba or someone else might do.
Right.
But by providing it here, we will create that next eco-structure.
Let me respond to that question of technology. I think in many areas, India does not need to borrow technology from the West. We actually have leapfrogged in many areas in technology, and we are able to do our own India stack, our own India products. So there's no question of, sort of borrowing technologies. And in fact, we have demonstrated even in the sector banking and healthcare and education that there are, things which work in a very cost-effective manner and which are not necessarily copy of the West. That's one. Secondly, I agree with you that the regulatory framework has to facilitate the growth. We need to really work towards ensuring growth, to ensuring introduction of technology, so that we are able to bring cost effectiveness, we are able to bring growth in the sectors which we regulate.
So having heard what he just said, are you tempted to change your vote quickly from a no to a yes?
I think the brief we give our regulator cannot be to just protect the consumer, which is typically where our regulator rules. That regulator should be assessed on the merits of how much of a superstructure have you created for innovation, how enduring is your industry to growth over the next 20 years. So a regulator that looks at that whole structure is
which is what he said, that this is what pretty much,
and it is music to my ears
yeah,
to hear what
he
has
said
to
is
say.
pretty much
But we need it
that.
across regulation. Pharma,
Regulation,
food,
not from the point of view of
yeah.
strangulating, but from actually facilitating
Yes.
the growth of that industry, I
Yeah.
think is
And the innovation.
the right way to look
Yeah.
at it. Anil?
Vikram, the angle which I want to add to this is the mindset is the most important thing. People should be ready to fail. Youth should be ready to fail. Keep on trying. There's nothing, you can't just keep on giving excuses. I started my career with bit roles. I was not worried. I just wanted to just perform. I just wanted to, and I became a leading man. And then, of course, I became a successful leading man. But I was not sitting on my laurels that, look, I'm going to work for only 7 hours or 6 hours and I'm an actor. I'm making enough money. But I was trying to innovate. I was trying to reinvent myself. I was meeting producers, filmmakers. I was going to America, Los Angeles. It was not necessarily that I was just meeting people to, for roles or actors. What I could get from there over here, the way the formats I've got. And for example, innovation. Now, there are so many Indians living over there who are coming up with such great innovations, who are involved in such big international companies. They want to come to India. There is a startup company which I am not mentoring, but I'm supporting or I'm being a partner in that, is a company called Ndtv.com, like the various .com. It's a combination of Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. It's very engaging. It's like, for example, as I was saying earlier, that we're removing the middleman. Now, talent anywhere in India or in this diaspora, Indian diaspora, because they are connected, because I'm connected, it's called Ndtv.com. It can be an actor, it can be a musician, it can be a singer, it can be a chef or a doctor. Okay. Can send a video and it can be engaging and it can, it's that kind of an app. So it's an innovation done by an Indian and I'm supporting it. But I might fail. It might be a biggest failure, but I'm ready to fail. And that's what I said. That's what the mindset of everybody should be there.
So what you are just saying, that actually leads me straight to the next poll question I was about to ask. But you have to be prepared to fail.
Yes.
So when you, for example, said, I'm going to try, I'm going to go abroad and take a role in 24,
yeah.
or Priyanka has just done that with Quantico.
Yeah.
Both of you have been extremely successful. But what you are saying is you have to be prepared for failure, whichever area you are.
Then absolutely. Matter of fact, Priyanka asked me. I said we were flying together, and she said, "Anil, what do you think? Because I'm going to give so much of my time." And it's this is a show which will take about 8 to 9 months of my life, and I have such a comfortable career over here. I say you have such a body of work, and what will happen? I say you have proved yourself. You have a body of work. If you fail, and you bounce back again. What's wrong in that? And I'm not saying because now I'm successful that I'm ready to fail. I was always ready to fail from the time I started my career in 1978. So constantly. Like, for example, when I did Slumdog Millionaire, most of the actors said no to the film because it was not the leading man. But I was ready to do that role and it became successful. It might be a failure. Nobody would have known about it. You know, that it's a failure.
So let me go across. On that note, let me walk across to the audience and ask you this question, because I think this is a key problem that we sometimes face when it comes to innovation. So which camera do I look at? That one? See, you've got to be prepared to fail in getting the right camera position.
There is a live show which I've done on stage. There were so many big stars over there. I went on stage, the music went off. There was no music. There was no music, and I didn't stop. I started miming over there. I just started miming till the music came on.
Okay. So I hope you're recording this, by the way. Okay. Let me come straight here to the audience. So grab the devices once again. Question is, Indians are unforgiving of failures. Make sure what is A and what is B, right? So yes means unforgiving. Indians don't like failure. % saying yes. So the majority of all of you feel that Indians are unforgiving of failure. And that, Anil, coming back to your point, that's part of the problem with innovation, that people will hesitate to try something new because Indians are unforgiving of failure. I can tell you personal experience. When I came back from abroad and said, okay, I'm going to become a TV journalist, and at that time people hadn't heard of TV journalism, a lot of people used to look at me and saying, ठीक है, टीवी रिपोर्टिंग तो करोगे, पर नौकरी क्या करोगे? You know, sort of a thing. So
पैसे तो है नहीं इसमें.
हाँ, पैसे थे भी नहीं उसमें, especially at that time.
वही उस वक्त की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं.
उस समय कोई बिल्कुल पैसे नहीं. तो what job are you going to do? क्या करोगे? You'll starve to death. So this is a problem. I mean, you see what the audience feels. Who has a view on? Yeah, you think Indians are unforgiving of failure?
Yes, I think, and most of it is because if we look at our parents or our elders, so the kind of upbringing they had. So a very conservative, not very risk-taking environment. And that's where the source of their thinking that we shouldn't fail, that you shouldn't fail, and failure is like big tag on you that, oh, you shouldn't fail.
So this is a three idiots type of thing, that become a doctor or become an engineer.
Yeah,
and
today,
become a
if
TV
you look
reporter.
at us, if you look at us, so we have exposure to different environment. We're looking at different ideas from around the world, and then we're like, fine, let's take a risk.
All right.
Just not
Ritesh, how many people looked at you and said, what on earth are you doing some startup, some, Oyo rooms, have you karke aa raha hai, jaake naukri karo kahin?
Considering I was still yet to go to college, a lot of people said you should go to college first. And
Oops. I mean, that's a bit more radical,
Yeah,
actually.
and-
You didn't go to
and-
college also?
Never went to college. Got paid not to go to college. So
Absolutely. I mean, okay, how is that too radical for even some of you on the panel? Then tell
not
the
for
truth.
Kavin, you see.
No. I really think well, it's very easy to say now in hindsight because he's managed to build this huge repository of rooms, but he had an idea and he was able to implement it with a very strong India solution. You would often think, why didn't someone think of it earlier? It's phenomenal. Terrific. And, as for studies, and I hope my daughter isn't hearing this one, you can always go and study if you want to. You can study till you're 100 years old. So you go back and study when you have the time, if you need to. Yeah.
Okay, fine. I'm certainly hoping my sons aren't hearing this either. Because, Kavin, did you hear any of this?
I really believe what Ritesh is doing is fantastic. I think we need more of folks like Ritesh. I think at the end of the day, you have a few people who come and really innovate and sort of break through with a new idea, which is not happening as often as we'd like it to be. I think as, just relevant to this question, as, we become more forgiving of failure, as we believe after failure there's a comma, not a full stop, you'll see more and more of this innovation coming about. I think that's where we are.
The log kya kahenge point, is it still important?
It's a very complex environment that we have now. But on the flip side, we just polled our 8th and 9th class parents to ask them, what do you want your child to be? Interestingly, 30% of them said entrepreneurs. So I think the sentiment is there, but I'm not sure about the climate.
Quick take from you.
I am a strong believer of something which is called the logic is always for not doing something, and doers never look for a logic. I think that is something which so many people in this country have proved. My only regret is that, on your earlier questions is also, that maybe we are not understanding the hardcore issues. We are still talking about innovations in banking and mobile and all. We are not talking about innovation in water, roti, kapda, which are the basic problems of this country.
I'm going to take a break right now. Then when we come back, another question that many people have alluded to, and I'm going to return to the panel to ask them about this. The entire question of inclusiveness. So it's one thing to be innovating on the internet, in tech, in certain areas, but what can be done to make innovation a more inclusive process, to make sure it actually does go down to all 1.3 billion people in this country? That's the theme we're going to return to when we come back after this break. Welcome back. We're looking at India Innovates and what can actually be done to make India one of the innovation hubs for the world. One of the specific questions that I want to look at in this segment is the question of inclusiveness, because it's all very well for there to be a lot of innovation, but we would actually like it to be an inclusive process, which means not just for one section, not just for the rich, it should go down to everybody. It shouldn't be just in one or two areas like Bangalore or Delhi. Ideally, it should spread through the entire country. So one of the related questions that I'm going to throw to all of you, so get your devices up and, press clear and be ready to vote. On the gender question, do men get a better opportunity in India to innovate than women? It's actually 55% to 45%. So the majority still feel that men have a better opportunity, but a fairly large number feel that it's actually not that skewed. So let me just turn to actually all the women on the panel, and there are a fair number of them. Debjani? Is it a problem or not a problem that much anymore?
It is a problem. The opportunity to innovate exists, but the ability to innovate is where we have a problem, because access to funds. It's a huge problem in India if you are a woman. Still is.
Lena, still a problem? Or
Funding.
I mean, there have been so many of you who have been path breakers and path setters. So
Yeah.
certainly in the financial sector, seeing as every single CEO of a bank in India seems to be a woman,
Yeah.
why would there
As
be a
it should
problem
be.
in funding?
Yeah. So funding is an issue. It's an issue because traditionally women have not been able to access funds. And here we're talking not just about bank funds, it's about equity and venture capital type of money as readily. Having said that, the social infrastructure should actually support women because, women aren't expected to earn. It doesn't matter if they succeed or not. I mean, at the end of the day, they get married irrespective. It's not like the poor guy who has to have a steady job in order to get married. So women should actually be the innovators. So socially, I think the push to get women innovators out there should actually be the answer.
I want to just share this very quick story. There was a young man who was working in McKinsey who left McKinsey to support his wife who was doing an e-commerce platform. So I think you're going to see more of those as well. And they did raise money.
You're also seeing change in the venture capitalists, right? More and more women are becoming investors, and that makes a big difference.
Okay. Next quick question that I want to turn to. So again, grab your devices. Does the Indian education system support disruptive thinking and innovation? Press A for yes, B for no. Whopping 80% of you say no, it does not support disruptive thinking and innovation. And, I have to say I was one of those who voted no in this case. Sangeeta, is it a big problem?
You opened out by saying, why are so many Indians so successful? So I think we need to expand the education system to say it's the overall Indian environment which promotes innovation. It's the dynamism, the disparity, the confusion in the Indian environment that makes you creative.
Encouragement to jugaad, which helps you to really innovate.
Absolutely. But in terms of the pure education system, and one of the big gaps, and we need to address it quickly, is the lack of post the formal education, something like an apprenticeship system. We cannot just mass manufacture because design, quality and innovation happen through apprenticeship. So there's a big need for change.
Okay. Debjani?
I think the industry and the academia collaboration needs to be significantly higher in India. You need research agenda that is relevant, and that's not happening. It's very theoretical today. You need industry to play an active role in shaping curriculum, research agenda, the output that comes out of this industry, which is not happening.
So your take on this, because frankly, especially at the school level, they may be writing absolutely the correct thing and doing it right, but if it's not what is there in the textbook, they lose marks for it. That doesn't encourage disruptive thinking or innovation.
Now, what has happened is that there is a kind of, very, very Varna Vyavastha, if I may use that term, into the education system also. You become engineers, you go to IITs. If you are not in IIT, you are nowhere. Similarly, medical profession. So those kinds of structured vertical kind of, upward movements in the they don't really promote this disruptive, sort of things happening. That's number one. Number two, I have a larger question. Currently, the education system in the country, I am constrained to say that the primary education and the middle education, which is up to class 8, that is really not working properly. Basically, there are large number of people in the villages, boys and girls in the villages, who just, I have go to my own village and I go to my school, the school, in my village, and I, class 5 children, they can't sort of write a line in Hindi. So essentially, I don't know what we are doing. And why it is happening is that none of our children are in those schools. We don't have any stakes. Basically, we are losing out a large number of people, and there I would say this inclusiveness issue is really getting affected.
That's actually a very important point that, we're talking about inclusiveness, but when perhaps 70-80% of our children don't have access to proper education at the primary level, how are you going to have inclusive, digitization? Let me just turn to anybody there who has a viewpoint. Yeah, sir.
Definitely the education system we are still following is the British Raj education system, which we are trying to change now. But I am very optimistic about, the things are going to change, because the first step is the digital India. When we are going to have 250,000 villages having broadband connectivity to the Gram Panchayat, that means a daily school teacher can teach a villager.
I think the Indian education system definitely promotes the very idea of ideating, and that's why India has become the hotbed of ideas. But how to nurture those ideas and create success out of it is a different business altogether. And that skill set is still lacking, and as a result, we do not see enough scale-ups, enough success stories. And I think that has to change, and that is changing already.
All right, fine. Well, I guess not everybody can do what happened in Slumdog Millionaire, Anil, but there you are. So, all right, I'm going to take another break at this point. Obviously, we can't solve all problems in this one program, even though we might want to. But when I come back, I'm going to ask all of you one last question, giving you some time to think about it also. What is really holding India back from making it to the big league of innovative nations? The one factor that perhaps is holding India back, and I'm going to try and come to as many of you as possible to get that factor, because once we know what that issue is, we can perhaps try and solve for it. That's when we come back after this break. Welcome back. One last very quick segment, and we're going to look for that one thing perhaps that is holding back India from really becoming at a global level the big league of innovators. So I'm going to again ask all of you to vote, and we're going to give you 4 options this time. What's holding India back from making it to the big league of innovators? 4 options. Press A for R&D facilities, press B for funding, C for competitive spirit, and D for government support. %, R&D, 26% say funding, 13% say competitive spirit, 40% say government support. So government support, funding, R&D facilities, competitive spirit in that particular order. Do you broadly agree, panel? Okay, the panel broadly agrees. All of you also broadly agree with that? All right, fine. So how do we fix whatever is really broken and make India, really get India going? I'm going to get final thoughts from everybody, and because we are all flat out of time, maybe just 5 seconds each for anybody who wants something to say.
We are not able to innovate and make it a big idea is our ability to scale, right? We have pilots, we kind of celebrate pilots, we award those innovators who did pilot, but there is nobody who takes it to scale. And I'll just give you an example. We talk about Google being the big idea. In the last 3 years, they did 180 acquisitions. So these people who innovate maybe a new way to agriculture, how do you scale it? Can you take it to a country?
Scalability is a big problem, right? You have a view?
Innovating on the best possible knee surgery, but 70-80% of Indian women, girls are still using sand, ash, jute bags to cow dung in the name of sanitary pads. So our problems are extremely basic, very grassroots. I mean, that's where we need to focus more.
Okay, so continue to focus on what the really big challenges and the big issues are, yeah.
Why do we always look at something like a disruptive innovation? Why can't we look at incremental innovation also? Just a case to point is someone preloaded a SIM card with videos of plumbing and electricians' roles and sold it through telephone shops across in a village, which is helping those people learn about the trade.
That's a really good idea.
The ecosystem is a big, it's lacking, and so that's a big problem. And who else other than government can take the lead? But then the private sector, innovators, and all other sort of stakeholders within the ecosystem has to take a part in that. But the leadership has to be with the government.
Other ecosystems like Silicon Valley is not backed by the government.
In the Silicon Valley, it's a fail fast mantra, right? So if you start a company, if it doesn't happen in a year, you should be able to come out of it quickly, create. I think you need...
So bankruptcy laws and things like that are needed, right?
The government should learn to trash a lot of its regulation, rather than just tinker around or change wordings and still keep regulation going on.
Trash a lot of regulation, fine.
Synergy, I think, which is required to work between the government and the private sector, where a lot of ideas are happening. I think that synergy of talking like equals is also something which is holding us back.
Okay.
I just want to add one thing. It's not only the industry and the government, but the academicians. The whole academician has to join hands with the industry, and that is going to result in starting very early and starting the innovation faster.
Okay, Ritesh, quick final thought from you.
We generally are trained to be conservative, where we sort of get quick wins and get very happy about it. I think we need to be extremely hungry to create really big things, because that's what differentiates us from maybe the Silicon Valley, who aspires to solve the problem for the world and not just for the Silicon Valley. And hence, we should not be solving the problem just for India and possibly for the world.
All right, fine. Sangeeta, let me get final thoughts from the entire panel.
I think one of the biggest things we need is the focus and the passion, especially in healthcare. I mean, if 2 jumbo jets of children are dying every day because of diarrhea, can't we just put oral rehydration mechanics on every phone? Mobile density is so high. So it's the focus and the passion to say health is important. Last one-liner, please make health number 10 pillar in digital India. It's really forgotten. We need to focus on health.
Right. Anil?
I think I agree with him. Think global, stay hungry, and of course, not constantly try to pull down the government and pull down your leader who's trying to think out of the box. So give him time. He is trying to do something which is out of the box and trying to support. He's trying to going out and traveling all over the world so that the more money is invested over here and we become successful, economy flourishes, obviously the interiors and the villages and all, we will, be successful and flourish. I think that's what I feel, not pulling down people constantly.
Okay.
I think we need more mechanisms to underwrite risk, by which I mean that incubator that comes up is not just a mentor for a good idea, but the person is allowed to ideate while you take care of all the issues of the back office, the HR, the tax, and making sure that the losses get underwritten in some manner that allow people to take risks and move ahead.
I think people need to stop looking for a quick fix. Eyes are on India now, there's funding as well, but we need people with big ideas and big visions, and I think people don't have that patience in this country. I think that needs to change. I think that's one big thing.
Okay, Dani?
So, 2 things. The government needs to prioritize innovate in India before make in India. If the right innovation happens in India, right manufacturing will happen versus assembly, and that's a big gap today. Second, the government needs to move from being an enabler to a strategic investor in innovation. You talked about Silicon Valley. One of Silicon Valley's most well-kept secret, all the products that go into iPhone, the internet itself, GPS, all funded or supported by government programs. All big innovations in Silicon Valley are somehow supported or funded by government programs. Government will drive what Som was talking about, which is scale, because most private industries are reluctant to get into new opportunities, especially new markets like rural India. Okay. Government has to.
Final words on the entire program with you.
Yeah, I think government is...
Seeing as you're the man who's probably responsible for driving this entire process.
Government is facilitating. It is creating an enabling environment. It is also making strategic investments like electronics development fund and other kinds of things. So it is doing a lot of things. Probably it needs to do a little more. And as somebody said, academia, industry, government, all 3 have to combine together and to make it happen. So I think that's one thing which is given. But what I feel is that we need to have more passionate people. We need to think of a scale, and we need to think of a speed. We need to think of Indian problems. So I think all these things, both combined, passion and the facilitating environment, that will make India innovate.
Right, well, I'd like to thank all of you so much for coming and joining us. I have to say, this is a very exciting time in the life of this country. And actually, if we can pull it off and we can become an innovative country, then this is where all the action around the world is going to be. And it will really then prove to be India's decade and perhaps even India's century. So there's a lot to look forward to. Thank you all so much for having joined us with all those excellent ideas and solutions as well.